What's going on? I told myself I was going to do more YouTube videos, start posting more regularly, so here we go. Just recording what I'm up to. So I'm out in the garage Friday night, just spent some time with the family, figured I'd come out and get some engraving done. So check this out, here's what we got. So I'm running an old school Dremel, just run of the mill, one of the ones that has the variable speeds. It's got low and high, 15,000 RPM and 35,000 RPM. To an extension, a Dremel brand extension that comes around to this little handheld bit. Super comfortable. My wife got this for me for Christmas. I used to have an older one that was kind of a straight metal shaft and really uncomfortable to hold. So this one's a lot better. Running the Dremel bits. So basically got an assortment of diamond tip bits all the way to tungsten carbide bits of various sizes. I use each one of those different sizes for different steps of the process. And so here's what I'm working on right now. This is what the finished product looks like. What I'm going for. It says spaced out. And this is where I'm at the moment. So it looks pretty similar. Here's what I've done so far. I took these little bits of paper that had my template already drawn on it and taped it over top of the spacer. Took this tiny little bit in here somewhere, one of these itty bitty tiny bits, and just scratched through the paper just enough to make a little scratch on the aluminum, just enough to be able to see the pattern. Then I come back in with this little guy and trace over all the letters, making the outline of the letters a little bit deeper. Then I come back in with the next step up, that bigger guy, and actually carve out all of the negative space. So you see on this side it's rough, it's not even, it's textured weird, whereas this side that's done, I have these dimples. So metal is directional, it has grain, much like wood. And so with this pass here, cutting out all this negative space, I'm going all different directions, right, to try and get in between these letters without slipping and hitting something that I shouldn't hit. Because the Dremel is a rotary tool, carving in a circle, and because the piece is held different directions, it's carving different directions, so it's grabbing that grain differently. That's what you're seeing there. In addition, it's peaks and valleys, but if I made two cuts the same depth, just different directions on the metal, you'd be able to tell the difference in the reflection. So that pass is all about just getting the negative space identified, pushing that negative space down a little bit so the letters pop up. And then this last pass, I'm actually using, those first two were carbide tip bits. This one is switching over to a diamond tip bit. Let's see if I can focus in on it here. So a diamond tip bit, it's super smooth. It doesn't grab, it just wants to grind down into the metal. And you get a little process going of doing divot, 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 so on and so forth. Right now I just started to do the bottom edge. And the way I've done this in the past, I've used this technique quite a bit. I do a border first. So I'll do a hard edge border. So I'll do this whole edge, and then I'll do the whole top edge, and then I'll come back and actually outline each of the letters with divots, because those are what I want to be perfect. And then when all that's done, then I'll do infill, and I'll try and keep it as symmetrical and evenly spaced as possible, you know, in this kind of area here. So that's kind of the process there. So we got scratch pass through the paper, that's pass number one. The light pass around the lettering, that's pass number two. The negative space cutout, that's pass three. And then the dimples is pass four. 4 different bits, 4 times going over it. By the time I'm done with this spacer, I'll have probably about 4.5 hours into it. I did 2.5 hours last time when I cut the one side all the way finished and I had the scratch pass done on this side. And then tonight I'll probably spend in total about 2 hours here doing the outline pass, negative pass, and dimple pass. So 4.5 hours per spacer. I got another spacer still to go. I might change up the wording slightly, but again, this is all just the front wheel spacer going between the new Spoke 21 rim and the Springer leg. So hopefully this is kind of the thing that's going to make this bike stand out. You might not notice it right off the bat, but when someone stops and actually looks at the bike, they'll see it. So that's it for right now. Just gonna kind of finish up, do this, and I'll let you guys know. Stay tuned to Instagram. I'll probably have a photo of this thing done on Instagram before this hits YouTube, but stay tuned. A lot more fun little parts and how-tos coming up in the future. If you have questions about this process, leave a comment down below. I have other write-ups on the internet out there in the cyber world with more detail on how I do these things. But if you have questions, leave a comment down below and I'll chat with you, get a conversation going. I'd love to see what you guys are up to, what hobbies you have in your garage. And like I said, as always, thanks for watching and hanging in there. And we'll see you next time here in the garage.